You probably have heard of punishments like hanging people upside down and cutting them in between, or by giving them electric shocks till death, or beheading, which is the least painful way of execution if used a sharp axe or blade, and is only reserved for nobles and least punishable crimes. But today, we are gonna talk about some of the most brutal and grisly punishments in the history of mankind that are not in human boundaries. Boiling alive till death. Death by boiling is a method of execution in which a person is killed by immersed in a boiling liquid. While not as common as other methods of execution, boiling to death has been practiced in many parts of Europe and Asia. Due to the lengthy process, death by boiling is an extremely painful method of execution. Executions of this type were often carried out using a large vessel, such as cauldron or a sealed kettle, filled with a liquid such as water, oil, tar, or tallow, and a hook and a pulley system. Another simple but effective means of killing people in the most excruciating manner possible. Being boiled alive could cook the victim's body from the outside in, and modern accounts of people falling into hot spring suggest that they would be conscious for most of the ordeal. An added amusement for vicious onlookers would be the scent of cooking meat. The body would also turn red and blister, and breathing the hot air would be excruciating. At least three people were executed in this way in England in the 16th century, all for poisoning others. The method was legitimated by the Act of Parliament passed by Henry VIII after Richard Rose. The Bishop of Rochester Cook was found guilty of trying to poison his employer. Even the dern legalese cannot disguise the horror of Henry's law. All and every person or persons which hereafter shall be indicated and condemned by order of the law of such treason, poisoning, shall be immediately after such attainder or condemnation committed to execution of death by the boiling for the same. In Asia, the Japanese bandit Goemon Ishikawa was boiled alive, and Bhai Dayala, the Sikh martyr, was boiled alive in 1675 in Delhi for refusing to convert to Islam, is skinned or flayed alive. This agonizing method of execution involved killing people by removing their entire skin. Depending on the individual involved, being skinned alive could kill victims through loss of blood, shock, hypothermia, or even infection. Flaying enemies is recorded in the carvings of Iron Age Mesopotamia from around 883 BC onwards. The Rasam cylinder, carved in c. 636 BC and now in the British Museum, describes a particularly grisly practice. They stripped off their skins and covered the city with them. The abhorrent practice did not end with the Mesopotamians, however. Flaying alive has long been associated with religious intolerance, with the Torah recording how Rabbi Akiva was killed in this manner for preaching by the Romans. Amongst Christian martyrs, Saint Bartholomew is most famous for being flayed before his crucifixion. In 415, the Neoplatonist philosopher Hypatia of Alexandria was flayed alive by a gang of angry Christian monks for heresy. In a more secular instance, Pierre Basil, who shot the arrow that killed King Richard I of England at the siege of Calais, was skinned alive in 1199. Impalement. Impalement dates back the Code of Hammurabi, a Mesopotamian law code from c. 1772 BC. Broadly speaking, there are two forms of impalement: The execution of someone by inserting a sharpened implement into their body, longitudinal impalement. Inserted a pointed stake into the victim's anus so that it followed the vertical direction of the body, ideally so that the tip of the stake came out of the mouth, as in the illustration, or chest cavity. Transversal impalement saw the stake shoved through any part of the body to the other side, for example, through the heart or stomach. Depending on the type of impalement and hence which internal organs were damaged, victims could survive anywhere from a few seconds to several days. History has many examples of leaders noted for their penchant for impaling enemies. The Emperor Nero, for example, would make victims dig their own grave and plant a stake at the bottom before executing them. But history's most famous impaler was, of course, Vlad Tepes, the Impaler, who created a forest of 20,000 impaled Turks to scare off his enemies and once ate dinner whilst dozens of Transylvanian sections were impaled in front of him. Brazen Bull. The Brazen Bull was invented by Perillus of Athens for Phalaris, the tyrant of Cilicia. Phalaris, it seems, had grown weary of the standard means of killing people and sought a more cruel and entertaining method, which Perillus ably supplied. The Brazen Bull was, as its name suggests, a brass sculpture of a male cow. The sculpture was hollow with a trapdoor at the rear through which victims could be transferred inside. A fire was lit beneath the bull and the unfortunate inhabitant would be cooked alive. Brass was chosen as a material because it heats up quickly. Another facet of the Brazen Bull reveals an important aspect of torture and execution. For Perillus gave the bull a system of pipes leading to open nostrils so that the victim's screams of agony could emanate from the nasal cavity to the delight of onlookers. Perillus described that sound as the most melodious bellowing. Even Phalaris was disgusted by the instrument according to the historian Lucian and so asked Perillus for a demonstration of the sound. When Perillus climbed in, Phalaris shut the trapdoor and roasted him. Perillus was removed only to be more humanely executed. Phalaris was not hypocritical. Unfortunately for Phalaris, but doubtless to Perillus, posthumous delight from the underworld. When his people, wearied of his cruelty, they tore out the tyrant's tongue and cooked him in the Brazen Bull. The bull was also used by Roman emperors to execute Christian martyrs. According to early ecclesiastical historians, saints martyred in the bull include Antipas, Pelagia the Virgin, Eustachius, and the latter's wife and children. Blood Eagle. Given the immensely brutal conditions of existence within Viking culture, it is perhaps unsurprising that they are held responsible for the creation of the one, if not the most vicious and painful mode of execution ever devised by humanity, the Blood Eagle. The Blood Eagle was a ritualistic and sacrificial method of execution whereupon the victim was lain before his killer and who severed his ribs from his spine through the openings created by the painful brutalization. The victim's lungs were then pulled out and draped over their shoulders to create an illusion of wings. Accounts of the Blood Eagle appear just twice in surviving Norse accounts, although is alluded to in other sources, with both named victims of royal status and killed by a son in vengeance for the murder of their father, suggesting the reservation of the method of execution only for those of special significance and special purpose. The execution of first victim Halsdan Helig, also known as Halsdan Longleg, is provided by the Orkeninga saga, detailing the sacrifice of the son of Harald Fairhair to Odin at the hands of Thorf Inar. Inar made them carve an eagle on his back with a sword and cut the ribs all from the backbone and draw the lungs thereout and gave him to Odin for the victory he had won. The second known victim, Ella of Northumbria, described in the tale of Ragnar's son, was executed by Ivar the Boneless in 867 CE in retribution for the murder of his father, the legendary Viking ruler Ragnar Lodbrok. Captured after a battle at York, the saga recounts that they caused the bloody eagle to be carved on the back of Ella. Let's end this brutality, and we are bringing a video every 2 days. So consider subscribing this channel and pressing the bell notification icon so that every time I upload a new video, I can send a notification to all of you.